Scott Adams, the creator of the once iconic Dilbert comic strip, has revealed he is battling an aggressive and terminal form of prostate cancer, the same diagnosis recently announced by former U.S. President Joe Biden. Adams shared the news during a deeply personal episode of his YouTube show, Real Coffee with Scott Adams, on Monday. "I have the same cancer that Joe Biden has," Adams said. "So, I also have prostate cancer that has also spread to my bones. This form of cancer, once it metastasizes, is considered advanced and often comes with a limited prognosis." Adams opened his remarks by extending heartfelt sympathy toward Biden and his family, who went public with the diagnosis just a day earlier. Biden's statement noted that his family was still consulting with doctors to determine the best course of treatment. For Adams, however, the outlook appears grim. He said he experiences chronic pain, now uses a walker to move around, and anticipates he will likely pass away sometime during the summer. "It's basically intolerable," he said, about the physical toll the illness has taken on him. Despite the pain and finality of his condition, Adams explained that he has found some measure of peace in the time he's had to process the news. He said the diagnosis gave him the opportunity to get his affairs in order, say his goodbyes, and reflect on his life and legacy. Adams' public persona has long been controversial, especially in recent years. His comic strip Dilbert, which debuted in 1989, became a cultural phenomenon for its sharp and often cynical take on corporate life. The strip's humor resonated with office workers across the globe, and it was published in hundreds of newspapers at the height of its popularity. But Adams' career took a dramatic downturn in 2023 after a string of inflammatory and widely denounced remarks about race. In a February 2023 episode of his YouTube show, Adams described Black Americans as a hate group and advised white people to get the hell away from them. The comments, viewed by many as explicitly racist, led to a swift and almost unanimous rejection by newspapers, syndicates, and publishers. Although Adams later claimed his statements were hyperbolic and taken out of context, he never fully retracted them. Instead, he doubled down, insisting he was expressing his honest views. The response from the media world was overwhelmingly negative. Dozens of newspapers across the U.S. dropped Dilbert within days. Some organizations that had carried the comic for decades issued strong rebukes. The editor of the San Francisco Chronicle, one of the first outlets to cut ties with Adams in 2022, said the strip went from being hilarious to being hurtful and mean. Others echoed the sentiment, saying that Adams' increasingly polarizing and provocative behavior made him impossible to support. In the months that followed, Adams continued to maintain an online presence, shifting his focus more toward political commentary, culture wars, and self-help discussions, often from a contrarian perspective. While he still retained a small, loyal audience, the broad mainstream appeal he once enjoyed had effectively evaporated. Now, as he faces the final chapter of his life, Adams appears to be taking stock of what he leaves behind. Not just the controversial headlines, but also the body of work that made him famous in the first place. Despite the sharp fall from grace, Dilbert remains a notable part of American pop culture history, credited with influencing a generation's view of the absurdities of office life. Adams' recent public statements, while still blunt, have taken on a more introspective tone. His latest video focused less on politics and more on pain, mortality, and acceptance. The juxtaposition between Adams and Biden, two men with starkly different public images, but now connected by a shared medical struggle, adds a poignant layer to the story. While Biden faces his diagnosis from the highest levels of public service, surrounded by advisors and medical professionals, Adams confronts his illness largely outside of the mainstream, his once loyal audience fractured by controversy. As the summer approaches, Adams' future remains uncertain. But in his own words, he is bracing for the end with a sense of finality and perhaps resolution. For those who once laughed at Dilbert's cubicle humor, the news serves as a reminder of the complex, often contradictory lives behind public figures, marked by creativity, controversy, and ultimately, vulnerability.